For the strength stability component, we're going to work with a sumo squat, a rear foot elevated split lunge, and the prone single leg extension. So starting with the sumo squat, this is going to be a similar setup to the side-to-side squat in that we're going to have a wide stance that's going to be outside shoulder width, and we're going to have the toes pointed forward. We will start our sumo squat in the same way we started the side-to-side squat, in that we will hinge at the hips and lower ourselves as much as is comfortable with the toes pointed forward. Now with this one, I want to also make sure my knees stay pushed apart. I also want to make sure that I'm not too upright. So my hands aren't touching, my arms aren't touching my body when I let my arms hang. My knees aren't pushed way forward, but I want to drive the hips back slightly so that my shoulders and arms, when hanging, are basically in line with my knees. From here, with eyes flat back, I'm going to make sure my knees are pressed out and lower myself as much as I can into the bottom of this wide squat position, engaging with my whole lower body. Now I'm going to press into the floor and lock out at the top. So again, repeat, unlock, hinge the waist slightly so the shoulders and arms are hanging in line with the knees, lowering all the way down, engage, driving back up. So unlike the side-to-side squat where we're really working on the hips moving side to side, with this squat we're really working on glute strength, adductor strength, and opening up the hips in this wide position like we did with the side-to-side. From the front, feet in line, pointing forward, outside shoulder width. I lock out at the top, I start my hinge by bending at the knees and the hips, making sure that the knees go out in line with the toes, pushing the hips back, arms are dangling in front, lowering myself as much as is comfortable, engaged, pushing the knees away, coming back up. What we want to avoid is having the knees buckle in when we do this, so only go as far as you can, where you can maintain this ideal position. At the beginning, it may not be very high. You may find yourself doing a similar thing with the other side squats, in that you are hinging too much at the waist and winding in this parallel position with your upper body on the floor. We don't want that. We want to make sure that we keep just shoulders in line with the knees. So start where you're comfortable, work the depth that is good for you. Eventually, when you start to feel comfortable with this, build up your reps from, say, 5 reps to 10 reps. And then, to further challenge yourself as you go along, you can start adding some weight. I would start with lightweight and build up with capacity, starting with a light dumbbell, kettlebell, or some other weight household item that you can find. It could be a can of paint, it could be a medicine ball, it could be something at all with a little bit of weight to it. You don't have to worry about what the object is. Just hold it in your arms if you can, fold it this way. If it's a dumbbell, you can hold it any way that's comfortable for you. If you're holding a kettlebell, you can hold it by the handle dangling down below, or you can hold it in a goblet squat style in front. But now we're working on adding a little bit more strengthening with load. Starting with that setup, toes pointed forward, wide outside shoulder width stance. I can hold this weight however I want. Say I'm holding it like so, let's say it's a kettlebell. I push my hips back, lower myself as deeply into this squat position as I can, engaging and coming back up. You'll notice though that because of my mobility in my hips, when I do this holding, say, a kettlebell, the size of the kettlebell, it may touch the floor when I get deep into that squat, preventing me from working even lower. I could always change to a dumbbell, and that gives me the extra room. The other option I have is to elevate my feet on a couple of blocks or books or something, make sure they don't slide. Put my feet, I'll grab my weight, I'll put my feet back up on the blocks, set myself up, and now with that kettlebell, I may not touch the floor, and I can continue my movement with that kettlebell or weight dangling down below. Again, make sure your knees don't buckle in on you, that you stay nice and upright with your upper body, that you're engaged the whole time. The feeling is you should be pulling yourself down to the bottom, engaging and driving back up. This movement will really work the glutes, the adductors, and your hips in a very different way than other squats or deadlifts will. From there, we're going to go with a rear foot elevated lunge. I'm going to use this bench, but if you don't have a bench at home, you can use a chair, you can maybe use the staircase, the second stair up from the bottom. You can use anything that you can find that will elevate your foot roughly knee height. Could start off a little bit lower. From there, if I am working with a PVC for balance, I can have the PVC at one side. If I don't want or need to work with PVC, you don't need to or bother. But you might find initially that it's very handy to stabilize yourself so you're not fighting for balance and losing yourself while trying to get your foot on the back bench. I can always start with the PVC to get myself set up, and then when I feel comfortable and stable, I can let the PVC go, or the broomstick, or hockey stick, or whatever you're using for that stability. So starting with the 1 foot, I'll place the foot on the bench such that my ankle is supported on the bench. I don't want to have just the toes, because then there's going to be a lot of load going into the ankle, and we don't really want to do that at this point. We really want to just focus on the rear hip, as well as the front. So from there, making sure my ankle's on the bench, and making sure I've got that wide cross-country ski track stance so that my hips are square. I want to make sure that I'm far enough away from the bench that when I start this, my knee doesn't shoot past the toes. So if you find that you're not far enough away and you're doing this and you're feeling the knee going ahead, what you want to do with yourself balanced is step out a little bit further, find where you can be comfortable. You can always let the PVC go after that if you wish, but from there I'm dropping down below, and you'll notice that my knee stays pretty much in line with the ankle. What I'm working on is this rear hip, making sure I keep the hips tucked under, my body as upright as possible. So what I don't want is doing this and arching the back. Hips tucked under, nice and tall, lower as far as is comfortable, engage through both legs, push through that back ankle, push through this front foot, and come back up. When I've done 5 reps on one side, I can switch. 5 reps on the other side. Again, set up. Use your PVC to make sure you get far enough away from the bench and that you are, in fact, on that wide cross-country ski track stance. Stability, you want it. Throw it away if you don't. Lowering down, tail tucked under, nice and upright. Engaged and driving back up. 5 reps per side. You can always start to build your capacity through increasing reps, 8 to 10 reps. And then again, like the sumo squat, if you want to start loading it, you can use a small weight in one hand. It can be a kettlebell, a dumbbell, again, household item, paint can. And where you would have the PVC, you would be going without the PVC and holding the weight on that side, so that it's not interfering with this front leg. All right, so that's the lunge with the rear foot elevated. The third component, or element of this component, I should say, is the prone single leg extension. Prone meaning we're face down. We're going to have our knees bent, and we're going to extend one at a time. This is working very much on hip and glute strength, and positioning is very important for this to get the most out of it. So I will start by coming down on the floor, chest on the floor, head can be up slightly, or you can be resting it, depending on where you're comfortable. Hands are going to be just, my arms are just going to be loose on the sides, palms flat, more or less in line with my head, and then from there, I'm going to separate the legs into a straddle position, as wide as is comfortable for you to begin with. And once I've widened the legs, I will bend the knees roughly 90 degrees, so we don't want them bent slightly. We don't need to bring them back to our glutes. Roughly 90 degrees so the heels are pretty much up, pointing towards the ceiling. And then I will engage and I will lift my knees up off the floor. Now both knees are floating. For a lot of you, it may feel like you're barely coming up off the floor, but that's okay. What we want is the intention of lifting the knees up off the floor. And the whole time we're going through the movements of alternating between which leg is extending, we want to make sure we're continually lifting both knees off the floor. So from there, engaged, bent at 90, lifting. And then I will extend one foot out while still lifting the other, bring this back in, extend the other, bring it back in. Now, one of the key things that I see happening for a lot of people when doing this is that when the knees are bent and the heels are pointed up towards the ceiling, a lot of people, because of weakness in the glutes, the heels will drift towards each other. We want to avoid that as much as we can. So along with engaging and lifting the knees up off the floor the whole time, we want to be concentrating on making sure the heels don't drift towards each other. I'll show you what this looks like from the front. Set up, legs apart, knees bent. Now this is what will happen for a lot of people. The heels will come together towards each other. Maybe not touching, but they will definitely start to drift towards each other, because what you're doing by allowing the heels to drift towards each other is you're taking the tension off those glutes. You're taking the tension off the hips. And we want to maintain that tension the whole time at that end range so we can strengthen it as much as we can. So you're going to fight to keep the knees up and fight to keep the heels away from each other on each rep. So starting here, engage and lift, and then before I start to extend, I make sure the heels are away from each other as much as possible. I'll extend one foot out, locking out the leg, and now I'm extending it out away as far as I can to one side, bringing it back. When I get back, the first thing I want to do is make sure, whoop, they're separated. Extend the other, bring it back, separate. Extend one, bring it back, separate. Extend, back, separate. We will continue with this alternating movement, extending and bringing back and separating for 5 reps per side initially to begin with. And then as you get stronger at this, you may start to increase the number of reps. Could be 6 per side, 7 per side, build up your capacity, maybe even 10 per side. This will do a lot of great work for strengthening those glutes, which is a very, very weak part for many people. I see a lot of knee issues that people have with the knee turning inwards is because of lack of strength of the glutes. So this is an absolute gold exercise to try and correct that strength deficiency. So those are the 3 elements of this component, of the strength and stability component. You have the sumo squat, the rear foot elevated lunge, and the prone sumo-like extension, which again you can do in a circuit. You'll do 1, 2, 3, and then come back 1, 2, 3 for 3 rounds. If you want to spend a little bit more time on this and really work on that strength stability component, you can add rounds to that. And then we'll move on to the flexibility component.